Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In this clip, Bishop Barron is talking about the true purpose of prayer. Now, it's really interesting. This is the Daily Wire kind of thought leaders, and they're having a roundtable discussion. I have not watched all of this clip, so let's go ahead and watch and see what Bishop Barron has to say. But I'm really interested to see kind of the rebuttals or the reactions to what Bishop Barron is saying. All right, let's go ahead and watch this.
Thomas Merton, one of the great spiritual masters of the last century, someone asked him, how can I improve my prayer life? And he said, take the time. So it's a very simple thing, but I encourage people, set aside a time to pray. It might be morning if you're a morning person, it might be the end of the day if that's better time for you, but set a time. I often encourage them to have a visual focus. I love the rose window image, because Christ in the center, everything arranged harmoniously around it. And I'll say, use that as a sort of mandala, to bring all the elements of your life into union with the center and to take the time to focus and meditate. And of course, we got the template, because when the disciples said to Jesus, teach us how to pray, he told them, our Father who art in heaven. I mean, the intimacy of God, to know God as Father, Abba, not as a distant force, not a deist principle, but I mean, Father, but who art in heaven. So as we've been saying, not anything in this world, not any conditioned thing, that you're, in your language, you're ordering your life to this highest principle. So I mean, practically take the time, find a place where you can really focus your consciousness, and then begin praying this way. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. So nothing else is holy. Yep. Nothing else is holy. Your name is holy. So it's the elimination of all competition. And then by implication, well, what is sort of functioning as holy in your life that shouldn't be? Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, not my plans, not my arrangement. Thy will be done. So the decentering of the ego, the decentering of the will, and so on. So I mean, I use those just simple words that everybody knows, at least I hope everyone still knows, of the Our Father to order the soul properly. And that's what...
Forgive us this day.
Well, yeah, if you want to continue with it, forgive us our trespasses. So to become aware of your own sin is a very important part of prayer. Ignatius of Loyola said that if you lost every aspect of prayer, but you kept what he called the consciousness examen, which was this examination of your...
What have you done wrong?
Yeah, to go over your day in light of God, so the things, opportunities given to you, good things you did, but then where did you mess up as you went? He said if you kept that, you kept the essence of prayer. So when I'm teaching someone to pray, I'll say, focus on that line. I mean, what are the sins that I'm committing? As we forgive those who trespass against us, what's blocking you? Because very often in prayer, I think it's one of the rules of prayer, persistence is one, but another is forgiveness. That if there's a block, there's somebody that you're hating on and someone that you're resenting, there's an old grudge, you got to deal with that, So those who trespass against us, lead us not into temptations. I mean, Lord, what right now is tempting me away from making your name hallowed? So, I mean, I just will walk someone through that prayer and say, take line by line, take even 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be, all day. You're not becoming a Trappist monk. But 10 minutes, take the time, find the place, and then walk through those lines.
Well, it's no different, in my estimation, than deciding, since you have to journey through the day, where are you going?
Yeah.
Well, who knows? It's like, well, you're not going to get anywhere good with that attitude. It's like, why don't you set yourself up with a vision? Well, what's the best possible vision? Well, aim at the best. Well, what's the best? Well, you don't exactly know, but you could open yourself up to the revelation of your ignorance in relationship to the best.
Hallowed be thy name.
Exactly. I'm going to try to...
Your kingdom come, your will be done.
Right. I'm going to turn myself over to what's the highest insofar as I'm capable of doing that.
And help
I'm
me
going to
remove blocks to that. That's the essence of prayer.
Bishop, could I?
I think it's important to see that there is a fundamental difference between what Peterson is saying and what Bishop Barron is saying. And to just state it simply, the difference is, what are you aligning to? Are you aligning to the highest good, who is ultimately God? And in God, we're talking about the triune God of Father, Son, and Spirit? Or is the highest good this human manifestation of a dreamlike state that reveals it throughout human history? That's something that Jordan Peterson talks a lot about.
Question?
Yes.
And you invoke Thomas Merton, so it's not inappropriate, this question. I mean, I've studied scientifically and I've taught many years, Buddhist meditation and contemplative practices.
Yeah.
These steps are in there virtually the same, and some of the work, the McNamara and other, the decentering, that's a term from McNamara, the neuroscience of religious experience. When you decenter, and you understand I'm not being the village atheist or anything ridiculous like that. How do you distinguish, and this is an open question, I want to hear what you have to, how do you distinguish between, I think it's undeniable, and Merton acknowledged it, it's undeniably shared across these traditions. There seem to be deep fundamental principles about how the mind works, and these contemplative mindfulness practices, meditative practices, we do experiments on it. You can show profound effects, the affordance of insight, et cetera, et cetera. Distinguish that from what you would call like the intimacy of God.
Yeah, I mean,
is that a fair question?
Sure, and Merton, I think, someone who delved into Buddhism, pretty deeply, and also knew his own Christian tradition very deeply, saw those points of contact.
Yeah.
In the very last talk he ever gave, because he died right after he gave this talk, he said to a Christian audience, "We have to study these Eastern masters who have, I think he put it like, who understand the mind at the natural level much better than we do." And I think he meant, the kind of psychology of mind that they were able to understand. Merton was also clear, though, in all his writings that there's a difference between, let's say, the quieting of desire at the heart of Buddhism and the ordering of desire in Christianity precisely toward the Creator God. Interdependent co-origination is sort of a basic Buddhist sense of ultimate reality, different than the Creator God. So I think Merton himself was clear about that, but he saw all those points of contact in terms of the basic sort of psychological orientation of the one who prays. That's a very quick answer to a
Bishop,
hyper-complex.
in relationship to the Christian element of prayer,
Thank you.
Would it be fair to say that in a prayer that's more specifically Christianly oriented, that what you're attempting to do is to order yourself so that you can gain maximal insight into the manner in which you would be able to bear up upward aiming in the face of the travails of life and its malevolence? Like, is the prayer, the chaos will rock my boat, the possibility of malevolence will surround me, I need to understand how I can maintain my upward aim in spite of all that, regardless of its intensity, take away everything from me.
Okay, I have to stop there. I'm sorry I cut it short just a little bit, but notice the fundamental difference between what Peterson and Barron are saying. Peterson is fundamentally focused on humans and what they are to bear, what they are to conquer, what they are to achieve. And the Christian faith is fundamentally reflecting and orienting ourselves to God, what God has done, grace, what God is doing for us and through us. So what even the part that is through us is fundamentally because we're not looking at ourselves, but we're looking at God.
That would interfere with that capacity. Reveal to me everything that would interfere with that capacity and help me shed it in commitment to that goal. Is that a reasonable way of thinking about it?
I think so. And this prayer is in Christ all the way, because he's saying, "Our Father." So the one he's calling Abba, he's inviting us now to join him in calling upon the Father. That's why for the Catholics, the Mass is so powerful, that we're addressing the Father, but with the Son. The Son has joined us to himself, and now we're addressing the Father together. So that whole prayer is Christological. Is to move into Christ's space.
Is it the spirit of the encouraging Father that calls people forward to confront their destiny? I mean, is that what we define as fatherhood, do you think? I mean, you think a good father is an encouraging spirit, right? So insofar as you're a father, you're a manifestation of the spirit that encourages. Like, isn't that the spirit that encourages people to take the weight of the world onto themselves? Is there any, what do you think of that, Dennis? Do you think there's anything different between that?
Well, this might help, and if we're up to the end, this might really be a good way to do so. The Hebrew word is shocking, since we're talking about shocking theology. The Hebrew word to pray is shocking. It's a reflexive verb, which is already shocking. English speakers don't know what a reflexive verb is, but everybody else does, because every other language I know about has reflexive verbs. It means I do it to myself. So Je me lave les mains. I wash myself the hands, is how you say I wash my hands in French. The Hebrew has the reflexive. The Hebrew word to pray means to examine oneself.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
How's
right.
The
that?
conscious examine, of Ignatius.
But the Stoics do that, and they prescribe that before this prayer.
Well, it has echoes of know thyself.
I'm just going to end it there. It's very interesting that the Hebrew comes in and basically agrees with Jordan Peterson. And I do think that probably is a fundamental difference between a Christian understanding of grace, a Christian understanding of worldview, that God has broken in, incarnated, and has wedded himself to us. So now we participate in his life as it reorients itself to God the Father. And so it's interesting that a kind of atheistic position or even a Buddhist position on all these different perspectives on prayer is fundamentally oriented towards the self. It's fundamentally ordered to kind of a personable benefit. It's not about relating and unifying with God in as much as God is up here, I'm down here. I know what he wants from me, and therefore I need to do everything in order to realign myself. I need to examine myself. Very, very different view of prayer. This was a very fascinating clip to me. I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Remember that Christianity is Christ, and without Christ, there is no Christianity. See you in the next one. Peace.